the IMTV Velocities in Music. Today we're going to go back into 2010. We're going to do Chromeo's Business Casual. What a fantastic album title for this album. Chromeo is an electronic dance pop duo. I compare them a lot to Scissor Sisters, with more of a beefy, kind of sexy, less homosexual vibe to them. I really like this style of music. I do have there's some disclaimer that needs to go with this style of music, and that's just in comparison. It's typically not very thought-provoking or heavy in subject matter, and what that, for us, it presents a reviewing challenge, because in comparison with all the other albums that we're reviewing and basing our scores on, it doesn't really measure up. These are still really good albums, though, and Business Casual, I think, follows suit with that. Now, I said that these guys are a duo. I posted a sweet interview down there of these guys talking about how they make some of their music and how they produce, and some of these, the computers that they use. Some of the computer programs are from the 80s and they're running them on 19 computers from the 90s. So this is pretty authentic music, and I like that. But I gotta say, Tom, my favorite thing about this album is just the fat production.
Oh, the production is great. It is the best aspect of the album.
Yep.
Hands down.
So what do you think?
You know, I liked this album. I had some big beef with it. This is one of those albums that every individual track I think is good. I don't think there's a particularly weak track. You know, if I listened to any of these in a mix, it would probably stand out, honestly. But in context of an album altogether, it's one of those where they dilute each other, they weaken each other by just kind of all being the same. Yeah. Being the same in mood, being the same in just kind of style, and even subject matter. I mean, even if, like, they just, almost all these songs are about just sex or some sort of relationship, some sort of like wooing or seductive process. And
which I want to chime in here, because my favorite lyric is in the track 3, Night by Night, the chorus, to where he says, she says he's not romantic, and then he says she's too dramatic, and then he says they can work it out night by night. Yeah! That's sexy!
Yeah, and it is very sexy, and it even works with the album artwork and the name of it. It's like office sex. It's like that kind of flirting in the office, the tension that builds, and then it consummates in some wild Friday night.
Hey, we can work it night by night.
Oh, God, no. But yeah, you know, it's cool. It's kind of appealing. It's alluring. But by the time you get to the end of the album, it does just wear a little thin.
They could have used some more variety. And that's one thing that I even think that the Scissor Sisters did on their on Night Work.
And that's what really made me realize it, is kind of going back to that album, looking at the tracks, I'm like, I didn't get that from every track. Yep. There was a little bit more depth. And I feel like just because this is kind of dancey pop music, there's no reason why you can't get some of the depth in there.
Right. And another thing that I want to highlight about that I liked about this album is just, and I would typically say use the word songwriting or song structures and stuff, but it's more of a choreography here, since they're using so many like computer programs and synths and stuff, but they're also wrapping in some guitar parts and percussion parts, and they're wrapping all of it together. I think it's more of a choreographical. Is that a word?
Choreographical?
Choreographical.
I don't know if that's a word.
Chess match thing going on here that they're doing, and I like that. I think that it shows talent that they put a lot into this, and that's something that I appreciate. Now, I gotta say, I did not like this album at first, and I'll tell you why. This goes as a general just advice to all of you cool folks out there. If you're listening to this and doing what I was doing, making the mistake I was making, which I don't know if it's a mistake or not, but I was trying to figure out, like, really think about what they were trying to do and analyze the subject matter, and then I realized that I didn't like it because it's not about anything. It's just about having sex and being sexy. And I'm sorry, but, you know, there's not a lot there. There's not a lot of stuff to think about here. But then later on, I listened to this just kind of in the background, and I was loving it. I was dancing to it. I thought it was fantastic. So this is one of those albums you can really enjoy if you're not into putting a lot of thought behind the music you're listening to. Something doesn't sit well with me in my head about music like that, because that's just not what I'm into personally. But I still think this is a good album, and I'm going to recommend it. The problem is that I just think that it's not thought-provoking enough to really be that upper echelon. So, don't go into this thinking that you can really think about this. This is an album to just take back and enjoy. It's kind of like having a beer after the end of a long day.
I'll buy that.
Anything else you gonna?
No, not really. That's pretty much it. I mean, it's a pretty straightforward listen. It's pretty much you're either going to enjoy it or you're not going to. I mean, it's whether you're into the sound or not.
Yeah. So I mean, you know, Tom mentioned it gets a bit formulaic. I mentioned that it's not that serious. These are kind of big criticisms that just keep it out of that awesome range. But I still think this is still something that's a quality listen that I think a lot of people, especially if you're into electronics and dance music, that you'll get a lot of enjoyment out of. I'm gonna give this a 70.
I'm gonna give it a 68.
That's a pretty even score, and I feel like that's an accurate depiction of where this album sits in comparison to all the other stuff that's out there right now. But tell us what you think, guys. Did you like Business Casual? Did you find it fun and sexy? Did you wish that there was a little bit more variety, spice to it? Let us know. Leave us a comment and tell us why at www.velocitiesandmusic.com or youtube.com/velocitiesandmusic. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
We are VIMTV, moving music critique forward.